This week's episode of This Is Only a Test is made possible by the podcast So Bob. What is technology doing to us? How does it affect our ability to work, to be present, and to connect to one another? Podcaster Leva Tavakolian wonders about these things all the time. Tech journalist Bob Sullivan has spent his life finding the answers. On their new podcast, So Bob, they tackle everyday questions about the unintended consequences of technology. Follow So Bob on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, or wherever you listen to your podcast, and thank them for sponsoring our episode.
Hey, let's start the show.
For Thursday, May 9th, 2019, welcome to This Is Only a Test, the official podcast of Tested.com. Hello and welcome to episode 499 of This Is Only a Test. We are one mere episode away from our half. What is it? What is half a millennium?
A semi-millennium.
Is it bi-millennium? I don't know.
We are one episode away and one man down, I might add.
That's unfortunate. That's right. I am Norm, coughing, moving away from the mic to cough still. And joining me today is Jeremy Williams.
Hi, Norman.
Hi, Jeremy. We have a dual cast going today. Kishore had to bail this morning because, unfortunately, he's saving his energy for next week, right?
Yeah, he called in sick like an hour and a half ago.
He was literally sick. He said he had some type of food poisoning.
That makes me the next one. And so what better way to prepare myself than with beef jerky and mass-produced coffee?
Oh, my God.
Let's do this.
Beef jerky? That's not beef jerky, Jeremy. For people who are watching the video, Jeremy has something that looks like a fancy Slim Jim.
Yeah, it's a lightly peppered turkey stick.
See, very different than beef jerky. Beef jerky is dried and cured, and what you're talking about is some type of like sausage straw.
Uh-huh.
Right. It is basically a
Oh, you're
cured
saying this is worse than beef jerky?
Oh, much worse.
Yes.
Because beef jerky at least is like one solid piece of meat. What you have is like
it's been blown off a bone with a powerful fan.
basically, and pressed through a straw, a tube of some kind, into another plastic tube. I used to eat that stuff all the time as a child. And then I, like in middle school, and then I realized, oh, this stuff is not good for you.
Look, dude, I was on my way here. I was rushed. I grabbed it from the supermarket with my coffee.
Is it at least organic or something? Is it fancy tube in a meat tube?
Well, it's not beef. It's turkey. So
turkey tube?
That's a step in the right direction. Free-range turkey.
Oh, God.
So they were happy.
Oh, okay.
Happy
all right.
turkey.
Feeling a little better this week on my end, in case those of you out there are wondering. Thank you for bearing with us last week. And Jeremy, thank you for hosting or sharing the hosting duties last week with Kishore.
My pleasure.
But let's talk more about Infinity War. Endgame.
Last week was so fun. It was such an upper, that episode. We had so much VR news. We had like all the regular news was good too, but I couldn't wait to get to Endgame. And thankfully, like the Marvel thrill ride hasn't totally ended.
Oh my God! Wow, you're going right into it.
Well, I don't even know. We're covering the Spider-Man trailer later in the show.
We are, and we will. The Spider-Man trailer, for those of you who have not seen it, has Endgame spoilers, and I know it's shocking. Some people still haven't seen Endgame yet. It's the reality of real world life. I completely acknowledge that. Not everyone needs to see it in the first weekend.
You accidentally spoiled a little bit on Twitter for people.
I did,
and you deleted the post.
I deleted a series of posts, a whole thread, because I realized that some people may be traveling. They're just people who want to enjoy the film, who have a real working schedule, and that's why movies have long legs. But let's go check in with the Endgame box office first, because we are now officially in Avatar watch. Avatar, right. Of course, has the record, the long-standing 10-year-old record of being the most successful, commercially successful film in history.
And didn't that inherited from Titanic?
And that was and Titanic was prior to last week number 2 still. So James Cameron previously had both number 1 and number 2 in Avatar and Titanic.
That's gotta feel good.
That's king of the world, right?
Right.
And so all-time box office, of course, this is not adjusted for inflation. If you're a box office nut, you will scream out, "Gone with the Wind! Gone with the Wind! Star Wars re-release! Jaws!" Gone with the Wind still has, adjusted for inflation, the biggest worldwide gross.
Did not
Star
know
Wars
that.
is still number 2. Yep.
1977 Star Wars?
And that does include all the re-releases.
That's not fair.
Never fair.
All right.
Yeah, this is Avatar's chance to come back, actually, is the re-release.
Oh,
is
God.
get back in theaters. It's not going to happen. Avatar, actually, if you take into account all the inflation, is only number 15.
Really?
Yeah. 10 years ago, inflation means a lot. And I'm sorry, I'm talking about domestic gross in that. Worldwide, Avatar, let's get to it, about 2.8 billion, 2.78 billion. That's
Yeah.
That's a lot of zeros.
Okay, yeah, but didn't Endgame earn half that in its opening weekend?
Endgame essentially earned 1.2, so almost half of that, like 40% of that in 3.5 days.
Crazy.
And since then, we are currently at, for Endgame,
Yeah.
2.25.
Holy moly.
It's got another billion
Dude.
already. So we're about 500 million away from beating Avatar.
And this is only box office. Like once it goes to the home market,
It's completely different.
This stops.
The bean counters take another basket of beans and they start counting differently.
So what does kicktrack.com say it's going to do? Like that's a website that tells you if Kickstarter's going to make it or not, right?
Oh, okay.
Eventually. What are the bean counters say is going to happen?
The bean counters say that Endgame is on track, and the reason it's on track, even though they're very different in terms of the lifespan of films these days. Avatar was a slow burn. Avatar was top of the charts for months. It was a cinematic event, unlike any other, because of the revival of 3D, because it opened during a holiday, during Christmas time, and so long legs.
It was also known as being a great IMAX experience, which is a more expensive ticket.
It was also one of the first, IMAX was on the rise. Now we have, in terms of quote-unquote premium format offerings, IMAX, Dolby Cinema, there's the real 3D stuff, there's D-Box, there's a lot of XD. Like every theater chain has their own premium ticket. Avatar came about the time when IMAX was around, but IMAX was really transitioning from documentary, self-produced films to and kind of like, let's take existing 35 millimeter and blow it up, to things made for IMAX and making IMAX a whole. And then it was right around the time they started adding theaters for LIMAX, fake IMAX, converting theaters,
right,
and just expanding the brand. So the reason that everyone's confident that Endgame will blow Avatar out of the water is that you have to look at the domestic and international splits. Endgame is at $630 million domestically, which is only $130 million short of Avatar. So it's going to beat Avatar's domestic gross. It might make $800 million. It might even make $900 million domestic. Force Awakens is a good barometer. Force Awakens made $930 million just in the United States.
Mm-hmm.
I think Endgame has a good chance of almost hitting $1 billion just in the United States.
Okay.
That's the next dream goal. Now, if it makes $1 billion in the United States, that's another $300 billion to go in the US.
Yeah.
That itself is going to push it almost to Avatar's global total.
And then James Cameron will write that article in the newspaper, passing the torch.
He will have a executive, his new overlords at, it'll be the mouse shaking hands with the mouse.
Yeah.
And then internationally, Endgame is about 1.6 billion right now. It's about 400 million short of Avatar's international. But if you look at the individual markets, how it's doing in France, how it's doing in Japan, how it's doing in the UK, how it's doing in China. China is a much bigger market now than it was 10 years ago. There's a lot of room to grow, and it's outpacing Avatar's progress.
There you go.
At those points. So all sides are that come maybe a week and a half, 2 weeks from now, Endgame, in basically a month's time, will be the biggest film commercially ever made.
Do you think that's because people are seeing it more than once, or because more people are seeing it?
Both. I think more than once, and ticket prices are higher.
Yep.
I think that's primarily it. Average selling price, average ticket price.
Yeah.
We talk about phones. Apple makes money because their ASP, average selling price of their devices, are higher these days. They sell $1,000 phones. Movie tickets, ticket holders or ticket chains or theater chains make more money now because of subscription services like the AMC Stubs and the X Cinema, whatever, Cinemark Pass, and also people are watching it more than once.
On a side note, do you think we will? We will. I believe we will get to the point where you can watch first-run movies at home on the regular. But what's it going to take to get there, and what's it going to cost? What would you pay?
I don't think it's going to be for. I don't think it's ever going to be for. No, I can never say ever. I think if it happens, it will not be for big blockbuster AAA movies at first. It'll be for the indie films at first.
There's already a certain subset that do that release simultaneously. Like Netflix makes movies and they go in the theater and also.
But that's for a different reason, though. That's not because they're in theaters because they need to be in theaters because the filmmakers want their movies to be shown in theaters, and also they need to be in theaters for a certain amount of time in the U.S. to qualify for awards. And they came to a resolution. The Oscars didn't change the rules. The Academy didn't change the rules.
Yeah,
those will still be eligible. You're talking about a specific service where you buy some type of protected box, right? Some type of streaming box and streaming service, and you pay a premium. You're paying like $1,000.
I mean, Apple supposedly is a protected box, the Apple TV. Like movie studios would not give Apple rights to their films unless there was a certain amount of DRM on there. Supposedly that's already in play. But what they can't do is limit the number of people who are watching at once.
Or they can't limit the piracy options where people might be filming or recording, and you could put DRM in the box itself, right? You could, to go back to the tech angle, you could ensure that there is, unlike in the old VCR days, there's no intermediate splitter where someone is trying to jack into the HDMI signal or the DisplayPort signal and pulling the bit rate, right? And there's no disk, so it's all, the connection is secure from server to box to TV as best can be.
Right.
In the room, though, someone could still have a camcorder.
But that's true for movie theaters.
It's absolutely true for movie theaters.
Endgame was pirated day one.
I can imagine a scenario where for a studio to allow it or for a system to allow it, you would have to set up a camera, an IR camera, in your home theater that looks with a wide field of view that looks at, maybe look opposite where the TV's looking.
Right.
And it looks for
cameras.
Looks for some type of sensors.
I don't know if piracy is like their number one priority. I think it's ticket sales. I think it's number of people.
Well, it's gonna be high cost. If they do it, it would be high cost.
Because certainly, if there was an honest way to do it, like if like I don't know who it would be. I guess it would be the actual movie studio. But if I could pay them the same amount of money that I'm paying for a ticket in the theater, they'd probably be fine with it. They just can't guarantee that I'm the only one in the room, and they want to make sure that everybody who watches is a paying customer. So maybe it's face tracking, maybe it's eye tracking, maybe they're scanning the room to count the number of people, and they want to make sure that number of people is what they're being charged. I mean, maybe that's the future.
I mean, the biggest comparison you have is pay-per-view. Sporting events, boxing events,
and people pay how much for?
People pay tons, $100.
$100 for a fight,
and they can't control. And HBO and whoever's brokering that can't control how many people are in a bar. And bars have different rates, right? Bars, if you're an establishment and you want to have the pay-per-view, you pay a higher rate because it becomes a selling point. You become a de facto venue, right? You're making additional money. So bars legally have to, and other public places have to pay more for the pay-per-view feed than home. At home, you can't control, and that's why people gather for big boxing matches and big WWE matches, right? But they still make a ton of money. I don't know the math, but it's definitely equivalent to the business model is equivalent to like a low, like an indie film. It would be worth it for indie films, but at the indie film level, you're not going to have that many people wanting to do it.
I don't know. I think by and large, a lot of people would still want to go to the theater. It's just people like me. I have a problem with sound. Like, I'm easily distracted, extraordinarily easily distracted. And so any amount of cell phone usage or popcorn eating or crunching or crinkling takes me right out. And I would love to have seen Endgame at home. I would love to have done that. Like, had that be my first viewing or even second viewing.
Maybe
right
it's
away.
done, time zone based, of course, but it's all at a set time.
Yeah.
Like, it's going to be, we're going to stream it. It's not as on demand as you would get from iTunes, Google Play, or YouTube or something. Like, if you're going to pay your high fee, it's going to be more like a live event. It's going to be at 7 p.m. It's going to be a showing, and your box, you pay the fee, and it's going to play on your box.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to have your TV set up, and there's no pausing, and there's no, you watch it once, and that's it. And so it's more like a screening. And then that
Wouldn't that be great?
It would alleviate some of the
get 10 of your friends together, do $100. I'd pay that. Like, that'd be awesome.
I'd pay for that too. And also, if everyone in that room knew that there's no pausing, that this is a quote unquote cinema-like event, then people won't be less inclined to be on their phones.
Maybe.
I mean, you
in my house,
adjust
we
bathroom
would
breaks.
take them.
Yeah, and hopefully the host,
like a Dave Chappelle show,
who's invested in this screening the most, would take the right measures. There's that balance of like choice and meeting demand, the long tail demand for this stuff. I think it's a ways off. The movie business mostly works because they're making a ton of money and they can reach a lot of people in the cinemas. And when you're talking about amount of dollars spent per hour of entertainment, $20 a ticket for 3 hours of entertainment is a lot.
You know what? It just occurred to me, and I'll bet our friend Darshan has thought about this. Mm-hmm. VR might be the solution because that is isolated to a single viewer. And so you can control how many people are watching. Yeah. They could probably do a first-run film in a virtual theater, and I could get all the silence I need.
I think movies will be later to come after things like live events, after special things, special screenings of some type of content. Movies will be down the line. They'll let other types of content figure this out first.
Yeah, there's a lot of money there.
Yeah.
Should we talk about movies some more?
Let's talk about movies some more with our
Top story this week.
one of the big follow-up discussions after watching Endgame, and we're not going to talk about Endgame spoilers in this part of the podcast. We will when we get to Spider-Man.
You got to follow Norm on Twitter for that.
That's right. Is what's next? How does Marvel and Disney, if they have, as all indicators point to, the most successful film of all time, how do you follow that? Is this the end of the Avengers in general? Well, of course, there will be Marvel movies.
Would you stop printing money if you were Disney?
No, but you got to be judicious about it, right?
Yeah.
And,
look what happened with Star Wars.
Well, and they are being a little more judicious. So Disney has announced, at least tentatively, the next 7 years of movie plans. And this incorporates their latest acquisition of Fox and the Fox business. And so this is all tentative. There are a lot of just placeholders for unannounced, untitled movies, but they're also more specifically titled movies. And more specifically, we're talking about the three big franchises that Disney has, 3 big pillars. And maybe you can count 4 of you, include like Pixar in their animation business. Yeah. But Star Wars is the big headliner here. After The Rise of Skywalker, the next Star Wars movie will be in not 1, not 2, but in 3 years' time.
And that's as long as it was between the original trilogies. Well, the original trilogy movies.
3 years.
Yep.
But this isn't the case where it's going to be 3 years and 3 years and 3 years.
No,
it'll be
right.
3 years, then that's when a new trilogy will begin.
Right.
Untitled. But the new trilogy will kick off, and this presumably is Rian Johnson's trilogy. The question is either Rian Johnson or the Game of Thrones showrunners, the 2 Davids, D.B. Weiss and David Benioff. We don't know which one that is. Fingers crossed for Rian Johnson. And that will start in 2022, and then every 2 years after that. 2022, 2024, and 2026.
Yeah, but you know what? It's not like we're going to be lacking of Star Wars content between now and then.
I think this is smart, but you're right. This means Disney Plus is the focus
Exactly.
for Star Wars.
And Galaxy's Edge and the VR experiences.
Yeah.
I mean, there's, in the Void even. I wonder if they'll return to the Void for more things like that.
It's a different type of Star Wars engagement, though. You had video games before. You had light theme park adventure stuff before.
Yeah.
You had comic books before. You had animation. You had Rebels before. I think the consumers definitely hold the movies to a higher bar and hold live action to a higher standard.
But I think that they're bringing movie caliber live action to Disney Plus.
So Mandalorian is what you're talking about. And maybe more than Mandalorian.
But yes. Yeah, I mean, there's also the Marvel things that are coming in year 2, which seem like equally high caliber.
Yes. What this tells me is that they want to reset expectations, and they really have gone a full 180 after the performance of Solo. A fine film, just didn't break $1 billion worldwide. Disappointment on their end. And the other good thing is that these 3 Star Wars films are going to be this holiday releases, back to tradition, and there's going to be a lot of questions.
Tradition is in May.
Tradition is in May?
Yeah.
Tradition for the new
Right,
ones.
new tradition.
The new ones, yes. Force Awakens and Last Jedi. And, of course, Rise of Skywalker. After Rise of Skywalker, this tells me that there will be a nice conclusion there. It won't be lingering. There won't be a lot of questions left. And my hope is that these new films will push the story forward and won't be revisiting the past.
I'm excited to see what this Untitled Pixar film is a year from now.
So we're going to the fourth pillar, the animation.
Yeah. I mean, Pixar used to shoot for 2 films a year, and it seems like they have backed off from that entirely.
Yeah.
So they have Toy Story 4 coming out this year.
This summer.
Which is right around the corner. And then they have, the only other film on the slate that I think, as I recall, is Untitled, about a year from now.
Onward. Is that right?
Is that the working title?
I think it's the working title. Onward. It's the one about with aliens on a cul-de-sac or in modern day, or an alternate reality.
I dig it.
I remember reading a synopsis.
Oh, no, my fault. There are other Untitled ones on the list, but not for next year. There's 2. There's one on the slate for 2021 and 2 Untitles for 2022.
And so those are all unannounced.
Yeah.
Onward is the only one that is currently announced.
Yeah, but according to the slate, it's still Untitled, so I wonder.
And the question is whether they're going to lean into sequels or original stories.
I hope it's original stories because they're an original story factory.
Yeah. I don't think they will not go into sequels, but if they're going to do one every year, maybe it'll be alternating.
Yeah.
You'll have there's only so many sequels you can do. There's only so many of the original stories you can have the first sequel to. Toy Story is a rare exception that we're getting the 3rd sequel to. Do you think it's going to do well, Toy Story 4?
Toy Story 3 is still their highest grossing film, I think.
Yeah.
So I would be shocked if it didn't do well.
I guess it's relative.
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Is it going to feel like...
Personally, maybe the world will think of Toy Story 4 the way I thought of 3. We could have stopped at 2 and I would have been a happy boy.
Right.
So I don't know. We'll see.
And 3 ended perfectly.
But we're also now in the... we have new leadership at Pixar, and so we'll see what kind of difference that makes.
A little bit of changing of the guard.
If any.
Yeah. All right. The other big pillar, Marvel, of course. Post-Endgame, there are no Avengers films announced, and I'm happy for this. I don't think the Avengers brand is dead, and I think that Avengers will come back at least as a franchise with, of course, not necessarily the same cast, the same characters. You have a next generation of Avengers. In the comics, the Avengers have always evolved. You have the West Coast Avengers, New Avengers, Young Avengers, all sorts of different Avengers iterations. We've had different Avengers iterations in the existing MCU already. Mm-hmm. So let Phase 4 roll out. We know there's going to be a Black Widow standalone movie. They're filming soon. We know they've already cast the Eternals with Angelina Jolie.
What's that?
Eternals are basically the cosmic beings in the level of like Ego, from Star-Lord's dad. So super, super powerful beings. And it's more like a family of beings. I think given the name and given what they're going to bank on, it's a cosmic story, but it's going to be about like the history of time. It's going to be Like they are endless, they are ageless. It's gonna be about their machinations and their interactions with the universe from the beginning of creation to now. And so it's gonna be it's gonna be a long story to tell.
Is it going to take place on Earth or
I think they
connected to Earth?
Dive into references to Earth, but I think it's going to be more like Guardian style cosmic story. They of course have Shang-Chi, the martial arts movie, and Black Panther 2, and presumably Captain Marvel 2 is on the slate somewhere because that movie made $1 billion. Doctor Strange is all but confirmed it's greenlit. They're bringing back the original writer and director. So Spider-Man, of course. So there are a lot of characters, a lot of ways to build up, and that's not even including X-Men, Fantastic Four.
Well, they got to let that play out first, right?
So that I feels like a phase 5.
Yeah.
Feels like done, or maybe even a phase 6. Maybe a way to end this next three phases.
There was an Endgame director's interview with Variety.com. Did you watch that?
I didn't.
They teased a new hero in the Marvel universe who's going to be LGBTQ. Do you know who that's going to be? Is that already existing in the
Yeah, I mean, there
in
are
the fiction?
plenty of characters in the fiction who are.
There are.
Yeah.
Okay. But we don't know who that's going to be.
Yeah. So, not sure.
I mean, it's great because they were talked about how all they want to do is find more ways for people to associate themselves with a hero. Like,
Representation.
who's your hero?
Yeah.
Right? Like, who's your favorite?
Yeah. Yeah. And there are a lot. There's so many characters.
Hmm.
The way Endgame ended, and with the way the new Spider-Man trailer depicts the aftermath, trying to avoid spoilers as much as possible, they leave themselves with a lot of possibilities to bring in the X-Men and the Fantastic Four in unique ways that don't feel like they just came out of nowhere. They will feel like they came out of nowhere, but canonically, it will hopefully make some sense. Of course, aside from Marvel,
Well, just to say, like, there's no Avengers film on the list, but
Yeah.
they're almost all entitled.
right?
And there's 3 on the slate for a single year in 2021.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
They're going. There's no shortage of appetite, right? Spider-Man: Homecoming
Or money. Or
Far
money.
From Home trailer is the highest viewed, highest liked trailer on YouTube in this amount of time it's been.
Wait, that's the new one?
The new one. Yeah,
It's the highest liked trailer or video?
trailer.
Are you serious?
Yeah. Wow. It has blown like from the wave of Endgame
Yeah.
hype and Endgame.
I think
Like,
that's what it
aftermath,
is. That's what it is.
People want more.
Yeah.
They don't feel like they're done.
They've left the party and they just want to hear something from that party
And
again.
That's right. That's right. The same tunes. And this is all coming out from this Disney announcement of their slate. Some other interesting tidbits. New Mutants, which is a Fox-produced movie. They filmed this in 2017. The release date keeps on getting pushed back. Speculation was it would be like a exclusive to Disney Plus. Actually has a release date. It'll be in 2020.
Okay.
And then I would count this as another pillar, potentially.
Yep.
Maybe not a strong pillar in the Disney Fox slate. It's Avatar.
What do you mean not a strong pillar?
We don't know. We
It
don't know.
is the reigning most
Sure.
highest grossing
That's
film
why
of all
it's a
time.
pillar.
Yeah.
We just don't know what that foundation, how the materials have held up.
Just because
over 10 years.
there might be a better pillar. Does it mean it's not a good pillar?
We don't know. We don't know until number 2 comes out. But there's Avatar 2,
Yeah.
3,
No. That's enough, right?
4,
What?
and 5
Stop it.
starting in 2021. So we're not even going to get 2 for 2 years, 2.5 years.
Yeah.
Avatar 5
Mm-hmm.
will come out in 2027.
We'll all be gray and will we still be doing this podcast? We'll reunite
That's
if not.
episode 1000. There are articles already out there that echoed my sentiments on this, is that seeing the slate
Yeah.
has put my mortality into view in a way I have not considered before. How old will you be by the time Avatar 5 comes out?
Yeah.
Pretty old.
Yeah. You'll probably be almost my age by then. I don't know, man. I'm not. I liked the spectacle of Avatar. I did think it was a good 3D experience. I'm not in love with the story.
I think it's a smart move because I think the story that James Cameron is trying to tell,
How do you know what that is?
because he has indicated he's indicated some
What is it?
It's about the children.
Oh.
And I think what he's trying to do is get the people who loved Avatar, who watched it back in 2009,
Yeah.
2008. Those people have grown up. And some of those people may have kids now. And to get the resonance back into their heads with these characters having grown up along with them, it is going to be 10 years later. It's going to be a different, it's not going to be Jake Sully being, the scrappy soldier, naive. It's going to be a more mature character. And hopefully by pushing it back, adding more time, what he's trying to do, I think, and what Disney's trying to do, in addition to tuning the movie and making sure all the marketing is right, is almost make it feel like a return to Star Wars. The gap between Return of the Jedi and Phantom Menace, the gap between Revenge of the Sith and Force Awakens. That's going to feel like an event in itself because it'll be returning to a world that much later. It is the opposite of pushing something out to market so quickly. They've taken their time. It must be worth it. That's the curiosity.
I don't know. To me, that does not sound like a sure thing. Like, that's a lot of investment. That's a lot of planning.
Doesn't that pique your interest?
No.
Like, they've developed this movie for 11 years. It's got to be worth watching.
Yeah, like Duke Nukem Forever. Remember that? That's awesome.
This is Cameron, though.
True. Absolutely. But so was Avatar. And like I said, not my favorite Cameron film.
So not for you. Then not for you.
Maybe not. But I also just...
But even from a technical perspective.
Like, do you remember how good The Matrix was?
Yeah.
Like, freaking amazing.
Yes.
Chart topping.
Yes, the first one.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So then they're like all invested on the next two, and they're mediocre at best. Like, what are you up for? How many? 5, 6? Five
Avatar films.
You can't commit to that. You got to at least give the second one a chance, see if it's any good, see if you're hooked for the rest of them. I guess they could cancel them if they're no good.
Or can they?
Because it's James Cameron?
Because maybe the deal has been signed.
Yeah,
maybe it'll be slightly smaller releases. But maybe the budgets are reallocated.
Oh, no way. That's too much money.
Yeah, it is too much money. Unless they're, it's all been shot. It's all post, right? It's all post money.
All shot. Holy cow.
Right. At some point.
Yeah.
I think they're shooting all
we'll see. I mean, apparently some people love Avatar because there's a whole side of Disney World that's Avatar, right?
Yeah.
Have you been there?
I have not. And Disney must know based on the success of that world.
Yeah.
Like, that's just market research. And maybe it's international. Maybe Avatar resonates differently.
You're probably right.
Overseas.
Yeah.
Than it does here. People want to go back to Pandora. James Cameron dreamed up that world when he was a teenager. He brute forced it into reality and then made it the top grossing film of all time for 10 years.
I'll see it.
Exactly. You'll see it. There you go. That's all they're asking. That's all they're asking.
No, they're asking for a lot more people to see it.
They're asking for a lot more. And then that's their slate. There's other films that are moving around. There's a Brad Pitt astronaut film. There's the young adult novel film Artemis Fowl. But will be the foreseeable future. Star Wars,
Indiana Jones, right?
Indiana Jones. Yeah. That's also pushed back 2021. I want to say,
but with Harrison Ford and Steven Spielberg.
With Harrison Ford, I rewatched Crystal Skull recently.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. I liked it.
Wow.
Because I wasn't committed. I wasn't invested as I needed to be. And it's like, this is a fine Spielberg film.
Really?
It's good.
See, that's how I felt about Ready Player One the second viewing. So, yeah, I'm with you.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think there's a
lot
of fun filmmaking things in there. Some of the characters are insufferable. One of the characters is insufferable. But there's a lot of fun tension and fun. Yeah, it's a good, it's as a film, as a technical film.
Yeah.
It's Spielberg all the way.
Fun vines swinging.
Yeah, that's not the best part. That's not the best part of the film. Okay, let's then move into pop culture.
Okay, let's do that. There's an Enterprise on a baseball over here.
Yes, I got that in 2016. It was a Giants Star Trek day at the AT&T Park.
What?
Yeah.
For a game?
For a Giants game. San Francisco Giants baseball team.
Did you go dressed up as Star Trek?
No.
Did anybody?
Definitely people did. But that was the giveaway. You go watch the baseball game, and you got a tiny Enterprise, an original Enterprise, not the refit.
Heck yeah, that's awesome.
On a little bauble on a baseball.
Cool.
Yeah, it was neat. You probably find them on eBay. All right. we don't have a ton of pop culture news. It is all Marvel all the time. I'm going to go to the TV stuff first, even though the Netflix Marvel animated shows are done. Right, there's no Daredevil.
That's not animated.
I'm sorry, Netflix. The Netflix
Yep.
live action shows.
Yep.
Daredevil, Jessica Jones, Luke Cage, Iron Fist, Defenders. That's done. They're auctioning off all the costumes, all the props.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, and this year in a couple months, prop stores doing that.
Why don't movies do
Yeah.
that? Oh, thanks a lot. What was that?
I don't know. ABC still has Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. They did Agent Carter for a couple of years.
Yeah.
And that stuff is technically a little bit more canonical. There's been only the smallest bit of crossover between that and the cinematic universe.
Okay.
For those of you who've seen Endgame. But they also are doing more. They're spinning up. Outside of Disney Plus, on Hulu, Marvel is bringing Ghost Rider
What?
and a new show.
That doesn't make any sense.
That's right.
Why
Ghost
is that
Rider-
happening?
Well, ABC, Disney is a big investor in Hulu.
Right.
And maybe, this is one hand shaking the other. Maybe this is the right place for, maybe there was just money in Hulu's budget to spin up and Disney felt like, okay, we can relinquish control of this one character.
Okay.
Not for Disney Plus. But it was a character that was introduced on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., Ghost Rider, beloved Marvel Knights character. Gabriel Luna played the role, and he will have his own series, and Marvel's had other universe series that's been on Hulu. Runaways is another show that's on Hulu, and there's gonna be an animated series called Marvel's The Offenders that will be on Hulu as well.
That sounds like a parody.
Yeah. So
is Ghost Rider the motorcycle guy with the
He is.
flaming head?
Nick Cage played him twice, I believe, on screen. He really loved that character.
Really?
Yeah, Nick Cage, Ghost Rider, Ghost
in
Rider
what?
Vengeance.
They made movies about Ghost Rider
Yeah,
already?
did you not see?
Oh, no, I did not
Like
see.
10 years ago.
No, really? No, I just remember comics or something.
Yeah, he's a really awesomely designed character.
Yeah.
Although it's a bike rider, Johnny Blaze makes a deal with the devil, comes back.
Yeah.
He's kind of a stunt rider. He has a big chain. He fights demons.
Does he have a superpower, or he's just like the world's best stunt biker?
Well, he has a big flaming chain and a flaming head. He has supernatural powers.
Oh, that's pretty good.
Yeah. The second movie that they did of Ghost Rider, which was terrible but had a great conceit, was that Ghost Rider. The idea was that he would be like he rides a motorcycle, right? Which is kind of like
That's what I know.
very 80s and 90s, right? Like 90s comic book. Okay, the guy with the flaming skull demon who rides a motorcycle. Yeah, okay, he looks like a biker tattoo come to life kind of thing, right? Like a biker gang. But like kind of like how do you elevate that character? Well, in the second film, they made it so it's not that the motorcycle is special.
He rides a Segway.
Well, it's any vehicle that the character drives turns into like this super awesome demonic version of that vehicle.
Oh, that's cool.
But they wasted that idea. But I like that concept, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't like the motorcycle is his vehicle of choice because that's what he rode when he was living. But then if he really needed to, he could jump into a
Segway.
Segway or dune buggy or an airplane. He takes the helm of an airplane, give him a demonic airplane,
Like Grand Theft Auto.
right? Or basically Grand Theft Auto, except you jump into any vehicle, it turns into a flaming demon version
This
of
is
that
great.
vehicle.
All right.
That's a great concept. I don't think they're going to have the budget to go with that with this TV show.
Yeah.
They're probably going to go back to just him being just some anti-hero riding a motorcycle, a flaming motorcycle. But on screen, if they were going to do that again, I would love to see that idea taken to its full potential.
But this is on Hulu.
This is on Hulu.
Okay.
Yeah. Ghost Rider. On the movie side,
Remind me, do I have to pay to watch that on Hulu? Because I know they have a free tier.
you can
don't
do
they?
the free tier.
And I can watch it with commercials.
If you're a Spotify subscriber, your Hulu is subscriptions included.
Okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah. Spider-Man Far From Home. So how do we talk about this trailer?
Even Spider-Man tells you not to watch it.
I know.
Unless you've seen Endgame.
So Tom Holland, at the opening of this trailer,
Yeah.
talks to camera and says, if you haven't seen Endgame, don't watch this trailer.
Turns out he's British.
Did you not know that?
Nope.
Who else is British that people didn't know?
I think Thor might be Australian.
Thor is Australian. Yeah. Which, he just tweaks his accent
Yeah.
just a little bit. Christian Bale's Welsh.
Okay.
People didn't know that.
Yeah.
People always assume he just has like a little bit of a nasally American accent.
That's pretty good.
Do we want to talk details
You
of
know,
this trailer?
I don't know, man.
Did you watch the trailer?
Yes. Yes.
The thing I will say is that there's question now about whether Marvel should put this trailer at the end as a stinger for Endgame.
Ooh, that's a great idea. Boy, that would have been neat because people, yes.
Right? Kevin Feige said this is not really the beginning of Phase 4. It's kind of a coda
Oh, weird.
to Phase 3.
Yeah, because everyone's saying what now, and here we have a whole trailer for a movie that's happening. What now?
And the movie feels like an epilogue. It's supposed to be, of course, a full self-contained story. It's a Spider-Man adventure, but a lot of it is epilogue-y in terms of the aftermath of Endgame.
Right.
Now, I don't know if tonally it would have fit at the end of Endgame. I like the purity of
I know.
what they did with saying no stinger. We have this clanging metal sound effect in Endgame saying that couldn't be a callback to the beginning of this Phase 1 of Iron Man 1. It could be, next phase in development, under construction, that kind of sound. You can interpret it that way as well. I think that it would feel a little cheap to throw this at the end of Endgame.
Yeah. I agree with you. And I just finally, even after having watched Endgame, I finally now watched Ant-Man and the Wasp.
Oh.
And that post-credit stinger is extremely important. And I wonder how that struck people then. Like, it's much more somber.
So I think it's fair. We could spoil that, right?
Yeah.
Ant-Man and the Wasp, it's a completely self-contained story. It kind of alludes to where Ant-Man was
Very comedic,
during the events
very
of
light.
Infinity War.
Yeah.
And then at the very end, it's post-credit sting.
Well, the end of the movie is completely happy. It's a joyous film. Comedic,
family comes together. Everyone's
light.
reunited.
Yeah.
Everyone is they're experimenting with new quantum realm technology, and then Ant-Man goes into the back of the van, which you don't even know about unless you've seen this movie. It pops up in Endgame,
Right.
And
the trailer. So
in the trailer, yep. Yeah. And he's in the quantum realm because his whole new family is dusted, from Hope Van Dyne to Hank Pym,
Right.
and Janet.
So while he's in the quantum realm, Thanos snapped his fingers.
And I will say, I watched this in theaters. It was effective because people were enjoying the film for what it was.
Eating their popcorn.
They're
laughing
like,
at
I think
Paul Rudd.
people did go into it maybe at the beginning of the film hoping for some type of Infinity War tie-in.
Yeah.
And half an hour in, you realize, okay, this is not a traditional MCU movie. It's kind of its own thing.
Yeah.
We're going to enjoy this kind of, Ant-Man heist film for what it is. By the end, they're like, oh, great. Everyone's happy. And they were taken back. They were reminded of the impacts of Infinity War.
Mm-hmm.
And you had people gasp, like, oh.
I bet.
Because you used to see the dust.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh my God, I forgot. Infinity War happened.
Yeah.
And this does tie in. And it affected him as well.
Yeah.
And so it was effective. And it was kind of an important part of a connecting thread to lead up to Endgame.
Yeah.
The last time that Marvel had put a quote unquote just trailer as a stinger was after Captain America: The First Avenger. Captain America: The First Avenger was the last film in the first phase to come out before Avengers in 2012. And so the stinger for Captain America was basically a montage of shots, essentially a trailer to build up to Avengers. It wasn't a seed. I think that was appropriate. I don't think it would be appropriate to put Far From Home at the end of Endgame.
Yeah, I'm with you.
And we've talked about it now without giving away any spoilers.
There you go. Did you enjoy it? The trailer?
Yes, it is revelatory in ways I did not expect.
All right.
There are plot details and directions they go in because it's Mysterio. Anyone who's seen the first trailer,
well,
Jake Gyllenhaal.
You've
Mysterio.
tried to ruin that for me. You've tried to tell me that he's actually a bad guy.
All I did was tell you in the comic books, his MO
Yeah.
is someone who wants attention, who wants to play the hero, and is a classic Spider-Man villain.
They still don't go as far as revealing that, if that's the case. Do they?
No.
Okay.
But they add an extra dimension into his story that was unexpected.
Okay.
That's all I'll say.
All right.
I think I did a pretty good job of dancing around that.
Very good. So, do we have any more pop culture? Because that's all we
There's so
have
much
listed.
pop culture. We've done an hour of pop culture. Let's go down to
Oh,
tech.
all right, very good. All right, I'll unmute and everything.
Not a slouch of a tech news week either. In that, this week was Google I/O 2019.
Wasn't it also Microsoft's conference?
It was also Build conference.
Yeah, it's a big week.
Let's talk about Build first then. Anything exciting from Build? Nope.
You know what? I don't think anything except for the failure, like the big.
That was the big news. Unfortunately, that was the big news. Microsoft's a different company now. Now, of course, there's
What do you mean? Since Sanjay? What do you mean?
Yeah, I mean, there's a whole Bloomberg article about how Satya Nadella has completely changed the direction of what Microsoft had traditionally, where their money's coming from, and the company's been more successful than ever. Like for a brief time in the past couple months, it was the most valuable American company. It was a $1 trillion company. It was worth more than Apple, right? In terms of how investors saw it, which is, for a company that's, the evil empire back in the 90s. This empire has struck back, and in the cloud, it's taken on Amazon's business.
Yeah.
And so if you look at where Microsoft business is, it's much less Windows now. They still make a ton of money from Windows, licenses from Windows, but it's Azure. It's Azure in the cloud. It's selling services to in AI and cloud storage and cloud processing to not necessarily startups, but big relationships with big companies with like Chevron and Starbucks and doing all their back end. That's where they're getting a lot of their revenue.
And even though it hasn't been a huge revenue stream, we've appreciated their trailblazing into augmented reality.
I think you would call them their hobby projects because they do still make money in those divisions. But Xbox, obviously, still a big division for Microsoft. It kind of feels like a weird side company. It's not a big pillar, but it is because it's a big business and they have to be in that space. And Xbox is still very much a player. And of course, this week you have the new Xbox diskless S. What are we calling it? All digital? The Xbox One SAD.
It's the SAD.
It's the SAD.
It is.
Right, that launched this week for $250. That's a big thing. E3's coming up. Surely a lot of stuff coming out there. There's also the Surface line, right? Devices. And they've stopped trying to catch up with mobile. There's no phone product. There is basically PCs. Strong PC business. Surface laptops are everywhere. Surface books are everywhere. Surface Book Pros are in a bunch of places. They finally revamped the Surface, the all-in-one, and that's a very solid business. And then, like you said, in the augmented reality front, they have big government contracts with HoloLens.
Oh, did they?
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, yeah. It's big defense contracts.
Money.
There's a controversy. A lot of people internally at Microsoft are not pro Microsoft. Working with the government and putting HoloLens technology to warfare, essentially.
Someone's going to do it.
Well, it's, they got to be transparent about it, I think. But they tried putting a HoloLens 2 demo on stage. This was in partnership with John Knoll over at Lucasfilm ILM, the visual effects, award-winning visual effects lead supervisor, the guy who came up with the story for Rogue One.
This is really sad. What went down? It was based on it wasn't John Knoll, but it was somebody he knew that has been working for 20 years on assembling basically a virtual representation of the Apollo moon landing.
Well, I think people don't know John Knoll is a huge space nut.
Was it him?
It was huge. It's him. Yeah.
Oh my God.
He, in his spare time, loves just the data that comes out of NASA, and he found, I think, a repository of telemetry info.
Like in '99, like on the very early web.
Yes. And if you don't know John Knoll, he not only has won, Academy Awards for ILM for visual effects, but he also had done visual effects for Star Trek Next Generation. The Next Generation warp effect.
Yeah.
That's him.
Right on, dude.
Right. That's like a modern day Douglas Trumbull. Like from 2001 Space Odyssey, like that kind of, like that's, if you're talking about 90s and early thousands, that's all John Knoll.
Right.
But also it totally makes sense. Math nerd, effects nerd, taking data, space nerd, taking that type of info, the telemetry info, and visualizing it.
Awesome.
How do you experience the Apollo 11 launch and landing in a way?
Because we've only had very limited camera angles of all this stuff.
Yes, and there's like new stuff all the time, but how do you experience it in a way a visual effects director would think about it?
Yeah.
Right? And there was a new way. And the new way was through augmented reality. And so they worked up this demo, months developed, years developed, partnership with Unreal.
Yeah.
And it was going to be a way to basically walk around the module and see precise representation of the lander.
And it was supposed to show off some new capabilities of HoloLens 2, like a wider field of view, and also this interesting thing that they call pixel streaming, which is a way for rendering to happen offline, but still have the low latency that you need in augmented reality. And so they're doing rendering on the PC side, and it was supposed to look really great and sharp. Apparently, like they had this working for all of the run-throughs.
They had it working. It was going to be built. Variety has an article about this, and the Variety article came out the day the keynote, which meant they probably had early access and had to rewrite their article because, long story short, the demo didn't work on stage.
Can you believe it?
They did rehearsals. There are screenshots of the successful rehearsals leading up to it.
It wasn't just on stage. Like they delayed the actual launch of the start of the keynote because they couldn't get it working backstage.
Yeah.
And then they went up on stage, gave it one last try, and it just didn't work. I mean,
oh my God.
Isn't
that's
that
such a heartbreaker?
It's totally a heartbreaker, but it just feels Microsoft. It just feels like.
I mean, I think that's unfair. That's unfair.
How many blue screens of death have you seen at an Apple keynote?
Well, famously, Steve Jobs in 2007, when he did the iPhone, that was first iPhone demo.
Yeah.
That was all
Smoke and mirrors.
Very smoke, or it could have been smoke and mirrors.
Yeah.
There were backup devices. He had accessed features that were incomplete in that demo, and engineers were sweating in the background and ready to pull up the phone with the fake pre-scripted animations and the pre-scripted demo, and it was a miracle that worked. So I think it's just bad luck. I don't think it's for any lack of planning. I don't think it's about the inadequacies of the engineering.
They're going to find out what caused it, and I would love to know. But I imagine it was something that could have been avoided had they just blocked off the computer, done something they needed to do.
It's going to be something stupid.
Yeah.
And that's live demos are hard.
That's true.
And especially live demos of something that people can't see. So you're adding not only the need to run this demo successfully for people wearing the headset, but also the visualization of it. And that probably is where there was some big failure, because you need to find a way to show it to people in the audience and people watching a live stream. And this is going to be a big problem going forward with like VR demos. And,
they've done that
AR
with
demos.
They've done that before with HoloLens, and what they've done has been disingenuous, where they've shown through the camera's perspective what you're supposed to see, and it fills the entire field of view of the camera.
Yes. So you don't have the first. I mean, you can't do first-person capture. It's going to be nauseating for an audience.
Yeah, but you can simulate what it looks like.
You can simulate the field of view with the third camera.
Yeah, you could do something.
That's
sort of beside the point right here, but I'm saying that they've done a good job with that in the past.
Yeah,
at least in terms of being able to shoot it.
I guess right. If the third-person camera was locked in, and basically what you saw was the flashlight, the conical
the
view,
cone, that's interesting.
of what the viewer is seeing, and as they turn their head away,
I like that idea.
Then it vignettes away.
Yeah,
that would be a more honest impression of it. I mean, you've had awkward VR demos. Zuckerberg's had pretty awkward VR demos on I think last year or the year before at F8 when they did that, the rooms demo, and it was not good.
Yeah.
It's tough. Unfortunately, there wasn't anything really other exciting bits of news from Build. The business is strong. So let's go to Google I/O.
Google I/O.
I/O 19. Here we did have plenty of news. There are some tidbits of Android Q.
Uh-huh.
I haven't done a full deep dive into what Q brings to Android yet, but
okay. Let me ask a short.
Yeah. Sure.
Nope.
Huh?
Sorry.
Dark mode.
AWOL.
Gestures, live captions. It's iterative. Feels iterative.
Yeah.
But they have new hardware. New hardware is the Pixel 3A. And if for people asking, Android Q does not have a dessert name yet because there aren't a lot of desserts that start with Q.
Yeah.
And what better week would have been to have Kishore here to make a case for quiche?
Oh, that's good.
Quiche, why can't you have quiche for dessert?
I mean,
You could have a sweet quiche. Are there such things as sweet quiches?
why not? Why not? There's not.
There's not, right? It's
But
all savory,
now there
right?
can be.
Yeah, right? Right. Like you have savory pies and sweet pies.
Yep.
Sweet quiche. Why not? We miss our quiche. Google has the 3A and the 3A XL. The Pixel 3 has been around for a while. The Pixel 3 XL has been around for a while. What's new about this is that they're going cheaper in price.
How much cheaper?
It's $400. So
No contract.
no contract
Yeah.
on not only Verizon now, but also T-Mobile and not AT&T.
Not AT&T.
Not AT&T, but it is Sprint and T-Mobile.
Yeah.
And other carriers. Previously, Verizon had the exclusive rights to the Pixel family. But they're way more budget friendly. They run a little older processor, Snapdragon 670, a limit of 64 gigs of max storage.
Okay.
So really banking on
Yeah.
Google Drive and Google Cloud storage. And no wireless charging, no water resistance.
Right.
I think some people will care. Probably most people won't care if you're in the market for a $300 phone.
No, I think those are the right concessions.
And it does bring back a headphone jack.
It brings back the head. I didn't know the Pixel 3 didn't have it.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, that's good.
So 6-inch screen for the 3XL, and the small one is 5.6 inches, which still, if you think of it small, that's still pretty big.
It's pretty big.
Pretty big. 4 gigs of RAM. You have a 3,000 milliamp hour battery. But the big thing is they did not compromise on the camera. It has the same night sight camera that was on the original Pixel 3, which has been very well reviewed. Has it, compared to iPhone in low light, it's great. And for $400, that's a really great camera,
Yeah.
a mobile camera that you can get. And I think this phone is going to sell gangbusters, especially now that they've expanded it to other networks.
How much less is it if it's $400? How much is the Pixel? Do you know? Is it like 600?
That's a really good question. The Pixel 3 price is $800
Damn.
at the Google store.
$400?
Yeah.
Half price.
You can get it cheaper from other places.
Okay.
That was their MSRP.
Yeah, that's a good deal. I like this.
Yeah.
This is a good phone.
Of course, there are other bunch of Google services. Google Lens, which is something they've been working on, since they've bought Word Lens, is going to be incorporated into search now. So it's going to be
It does some neat stuff. Like if you're in a restaurant, you can point it at the menu.
Yeah.
And
And
it will cross-reference what it's reading with your GPS location, and it will try to ascertain which restaurant you're at and give you photos from the internet of those menu items.
so it's a little bit of AR.
That's pretty freaking great.
It's not just about changing, it's deciphering language now. It's
Right.
taking in contextual information from where you are,
Merging in
your search
data.
history, all that knowledge graph stuff.
I like it.
And popping it in so that they want you to be holding up your phone and aiming at the world for all sorts of reasons, directions, signs, and the more you do that, the more data they will get too
Yeah.
about what you're doing, what people are doing.
More data.
More data. Data, it's cyclical. Data is a circle. Time is a circle. Data is a circle. Duplex also is going to make its way into our lives a little more. Now, Duplex was that feature where you would use AI software to book appointments.
Right. We demonstrated this. Well, we didn't demonstrate it, but we played some
yeah.
samples of it. And we thought maybe it was a computer voice. I don't think it is. It's probably a human voice, but they snipped together various speech in order to make
Because you could
this
only
work.
do so much.
Right.
It wasn't a full library of conversation.
And what I didn't know was that it could only do restaurant reservations out the gate.
And hair appointments.
It could do hair appointments?
Yeah.
Okay.
Now they're going to announce something, or they're launching something called Duplex on the web, which will allow for more types of bookings, including movie tickets, car rentals, and basically it will allow you to autofill forms on the mobile web, which is very helpful. Autofill is one of the best features on phones. I hate filling out forms on phones.
Yes.
Apple's done it okay. Google's done it extremely well. If you use Chrome browser, it fills things out really well. Now it's going to be more context aware. So when you're filling out things, and you can tell your voice, book me a reservation for this time, it will go to those web forms and fill out those times.
Yeah. But like, do you have to confirm anything when it does that?
Yeah, I think it's still going to show the system filled out.
Okay.
And it's obviously going to pop in your calendar and fill things there. But it's banking on existing services like car rental services and movie ticketing services using some predictable or standardized form system. And over time, that's just going to improve.
I suppose those services it'd be to their benefit to tailor their input system to this Google system.
I mean, even with their existing systems, there's only so many fields, right? If you're talking about movie tickets, it's going to be showing time.
I get it, but they want to be friendly towards this, right?
Yes.
Because it's only going to get them more reservations if there's less friction to do it.
But I think that the magic for Google is that they can brute force it. They don't need to have a system tailored to them.
Right, I get it.
They can, if they solve it for the 5 different type of movie booking services once, they've solved it for everyone essentially.
Yeah.
Google also has a new Google Home that builds in security camera technology. Do you use a home security camera, like outdoor security camera?
We do, but it's not like a smart camera. It's just power over Ethernet IP cameras, and we run them into a video recorder. So we've got like 2 weeks of footage. But this is more of like, isn't this are they placing this in the Nest line?
I think it is tied in more with. Is it Nest? Which one is it? No, Amazon is Nest.
Amazon is Alexa.
No, but which company owns which company?
Google, did they?
Is it Google? You're right. I think you're right. Google, yeah. So this is the Nest tie-in. Amazon bought the other one, right? What was? There's so many like acquisitions with security service. Blink, that's what Amazon bought.
Oh wow, I don't even know who that is.
Yeah, it's called the Nest Hub Max. Mm-hmm. So it's
this is like a little smart screen with a built-in camera, and it's a voice activated as well, right?
So they had the Google Home Hub that was last year, and that was like their Google Home but with a screen on it. This is a similar thing, 10-inch screen, and it also has the Nest tie-in, so it can be the viewing monitor for all the other your Nest systems.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it does facial recognition too, so it knows who's walking up to the screen. It can tailorize. It can tailor the information to who you are.
I'm not sold on these like all-in-one kitchen devices that become your hub.
I don't know.
Like there's a new one out every 6 months. I feel like people just want laptops.
I don't know. For me, I'm all in on the Amazon devices. Like so, but
do you use the Amazon Show?
No, I have that on my desk, but I don't use that. We don't like to have that anywhere else.
Yeah, the Spot I think is a sweet spot for the Amazon one because it's small. It works as like a bedside clock and has enough of a display to give you the small things you need to feedback, visual feedback for your queries, your song lyrics, that kind of stuff. But having a big 10 or 12-inch thing in your kitchen as a screen to look at, I don't think it rings right.
You're right. It doesn't ring right, but there's something right about it. Like there's some direction there that makes sense. I don't know if it needs to be embedded into the fridge or if it needs to be a robot that walks around your house.
More functionality. I think when people see a screen, the expectation is that you can do more on it than what you currently can do on these.
I guess.
Or maybe just put it on your phone. Make it an app on your phone. Everyone has a phone.
Yeah, but there's something about the always-on nature. I don't know. There's something there. I just can't. I don't know what it is yet either.
Blink is Amazon's. That's their security camera system, and they also just announced a new security cam. Ring is the company. That's the one. Google has Nest. Right. Amazon has Ring.
Yeah, but that was the doorbell company, right?
Yes. And this is another doorbell smart camera. It's called the Blink XT2, and it's a $90 camera. And the big thing is that it has a 2-year battery life with 2 AA batteries.
Okay.
As long as they're lithium batteries, not alkaline batteries.
Wi-Fi?
Wi-Fi.
That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, motion detection and $90 shipping May 22nd. That's pretty good.
That's pretty good.
Yeah. I think that's a new thing. It used to be like it's a big growth market. People getting security cameras. And it's definitely in Amazon's best interest for people to put security cameras outside their houses because of Amazon package theft, and just the network that they've built up with Ring, of people with monitoring whatever. It seems like the next big commodity item is for people to. Everyone has Wi-Fi networks. They extend slightly beyond their house. People should mount security cameras for the front doors and become their smart doorbell.
Yeah, everyone wants that Bill Gates house we read about 20 years ago, where you walk into a room and the lights change and the music shifts.
That only works if you have a giant house. It only is practical. I don't know anyone. Sonos had that dream as well. It doesn't really make sense for most people who live in apartments or normal size houses.
No, but I'm saying they want like a smart house. I think that the desire for a smart house is probably there.
But smart house is such a big term. Smart house in terms of lights, yes. Lights are a thing that people can benefit from. Voice controlled lights, automatic dimmers, things that tie into automated, if this and that actions.
Yeah, but certainly the concept of the Ring doorbell is fantastic. It's just the execution right now. We're very early days.
The music thing is, I think, highly impractical.
Well, you hate music.
No, I don't hate music. I don't think the common use case is I need to be listening to, my Mozart in one room and then need to move into the other room and have the music follow me there automatically. I think that's a little bit too much.
You know what? I just have it play throughout the entire house. I play Mozart upstairs and it syncs for all of my Echo devices.
Dad's playing Mozart again.
Yep.
Dad's getting his Connect smart home on. Yeah.
You know what? Addy from The Verge reported that the new phones won't support Daydream.
Oh, the 3As?
Yeah. So I wonder if this is the beginning of the end for phone VR.
It's all self-contained.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, also they had their Lenovo Daydream headset, and that hasn't done so well. So I don't know what Google wants to do in AR VR aside from the holding, like Apple.
Yeah,
I think they've pivoted to people holding up their phones,
which is great.
Which is
I mean, it serves as a nice little stopgap before we get full AR.
And this feels like they have a leg up in terms of the knowledge graph, the data that people can get with this kind of pseudo AR for now. Last bits of technology news, hardware news. The Galaxy Fold saga continues. Not only has Samsung recalled all the review units, they still have no anticipated ship date for the Galaxy Fold. And
it's weird.
They've apologized to pre-order customers. So this $2,000 phone that some people have pre-ordered, but they said if they don't hear from you and we have not shipped by May 31st, they will start canceling orders. So if you want to keep your pre-order, you have to let them know. Basically, they're trying to sunset this phone, but it's dead on arrival.
Yeah.
They're going to revamp it.
Oh, that's weird. I don't know why they didn't see this coming.
Yeah. The U.S. regulation said that Samsung had to notify customers that the pre-orders would be canceled if they wouldn't ship. And so this feels like a subtle way of canceling it. And it, we talked about this. On their ledgers, they had planned to make 1 million of these phones in the first year. It's a small fraction of the 300 million phones they make every year, but 1 million Galaxy Folds, that's, I think...
$2,000 phone? No one's proven that can happen.
Not yet. Bit of fun news. Lego has a new Star Wars product, actually. Lego Star Wars Boost Droid Commander.
It's another one of those scratch-like programming interfaces for a toy, which I'm always in favor of, is if it gets kids a chance to touch programming, even if just for a fleeting afternoon.
And 3 droids, R2, Gonk Droid, and Mouse Droid. Imperial Mouse Droid. Yeah, that's good. That's pretty good. Yeah. Friend of Tested, Carl Merriam, who worked on the Apollo 11, the Saturn V set. He worked on this. And so I saw it pop up on his feed.
In what
on
respect?
Social media. He was part of the team that helped design the builds.
Can you build all 3, or do you have to take apart your droids to build the others?
It looks like, based on the color scheme, you can build all 3. They're not big builds.
Yeah.
And it's a combination of Lego Technic and traditional Lego.
Cool.
But they're going to be programmable, and I'm into anything that gets kids to building Star Wars and learning to program. That does it for technology news. We'll go further in depth next week, maybe, with our 500th episode. But before we continue on with the podcast, I want to let you know that this week's episode of This Is Only a Test, I almost said Still Untitled, is also brought to you by TripleByte. because applying to programming jobs sucks. You have to put in the right keywords in your resume. You spend hours and hours on phone screens and take-home projects, and that's assuming the company even responds to your application. Well, if you're a software engineer, TripleByte can help. They work with over 400 top tech companies, from big names like Dropbox and Adobe to exciting startups. You do one brief online interview, and if you do well, you get to go straight to final interviews with the companies on their platform. It's like the common app for software engineers. TripleByte does not look at your resume or where you went to school. All they care about is if you can code, because you are much more than that diploma, that sheet of paper. You are your abilities, and more hiring should work this way. Apply now at triplebyte.com/test. That's TripleByte, B-Y-T-E, byte as in 8 bits. And as a special offer for listeners of This Is Only a Test, if you take a job through TripleByte, they'll offer you a $1,000 signing bonus. That's pretty good. And thank them for sponsoring us this week.
The VR Minute. Virtual reality this week.
Just on that subject, and I don't comment on the advertisers very often, but that's interesting. How many professions really can you practice at home for your entire adolescence and young adulthood and be completely prepared for the job market for? Not that many, but programming is one of them.
Graphic design?
I suppose so, but you really need clients for that, don't you? Maybe not. I mean, I suppose
practice.
I suppose there's the web. Yeah, writing certainly is one of them.
A lot of creative endeavors.
Yeah,
but in terms of the technical skill, we're talking about a technical. Right. Yeah, definitely, and certainly, going talking about Lego, and you have kids who are well indoctrinated with early programming applications or fun ways to program.
Yeah,
it's something I wish I was just just too old to get into that. I wish I was maybe born a decade later.
I went to a college with no computer science department.
Wow.
That I'm aware of, at least at the time. And nowadays it seems very easy to study that in your education.
Yeah, I think the first high schools and I had computer science, and they had their computer science classes, and it was all C.
Oh wow.
C and C++.
I'm jealous.
Yeah, you got a little bit of object-oriented programming, but that was. It wasn't nearly as fun as what kids get to do these days.
Yeah, but my point is you could do it at home. Like you really can be hired and not have to pay for an education.
Obviously.
I mean,
Google has a ton of initiatives, and there are a lot of foundations who have courses for that purpose.
Yeah,
it is a very useful skill.
Mm. Yeah, that's it.
All right,
what's new in VR?
How do we follow last week?
Well, that's true of this whole podcast, Norm. I think that's why he didn't show up, because he knew. There's no follow-in last week. Well, I guess we talked about the Rift S last week, right?
Yeah, we did. But we didn't release our full review. Right. The review is out.
We have our full review up. We shot it this past Monday once your voice returned, and we published it yesterday. Rift S is it's a non-event, really. It's the continuing of the Rift line. They've improved some things. They've made a few compromises and other things, black levels, audio being among them. But it's really easy to set up, and it's nice not having all those USB ports taken up. I'll give them that. And the pass-through is fantastic. And the resolution bump is quite nice.
I think one of the things that we want to elaborate on, first of all, I'm not going to go use the Camry Lamborghini analogy.
I can't believe you brought that up.
I will acknowledge the mistakes and regrets of last week. How you were experimenting with pass-through. In the video, if you watch the review video, there is a segment where we talk about the capabilities pass-through, and you mentioned, gave you a taste of augmented reality. Can you elaborate on that?
Right. So the nice thing about both the Quest and the Rift S is they have a full pass-through now, which is new for Oculus, and they allow you to set up your room, right? You just point your wand at the ground, and you can draw a box around your play space. But the S is perspective correct, and so if you lift your headset up, the world is exactly where it is in the pass-through system. And so if you have the pass-through system enabled, which you can do either by double-tapping the Oculus button or moving outside of your Guardian bounds, it automatically fades up. Your virtual reality, your dash essentially stays in place. It still is visible. And one of the cool things about Dash 2.0, it was a 2.0? You could pull a virtual desktop out. So you pop
you could adjust any of the Dash elements.
A window from your actual computer desktop and place it into your virtual reality. And you can have that within games and you can have that elsewhere. But the neat thing is, if you do that and then sit back on a couch, maybe outside of your Guardian boundary, you then see your living room or wherever it is that you're sitting, and you also see your desktop. And that is like a taste of augmented reality. It's really quite cool because you can move your head around tracked in 6 degrees, and it stays in place. You can even walk around if you stay outside and keep the garden and keep the pass-through enabled, and it's there. So it really is like you have screens that have been augmented into your space. So you can keep an eye on the doorway, and you can see people come in. You can see your pets. You can feel completely safe if you ever feel like a little too blindfolded in VR. You can feel like you're still aware of your surroundings, and you can have TV screens and desktops open in your augmented space. And it's not an augmented reality solution. Like, they've never pitched this as such.
It's a hack. It's a workaround.
I don't even think developers have much access, if at all, to the pass-through system. So this is not like a feature of like an augmented reality experience, but it is certainly a taste, because they do have an AR department. Like, they're doing a lot of experiments on the phone. Their whole VR department is now encompassed by an AR VR department. So I could see this being like a testing ground, like that you could imagine where this might be going with full AR. And I do like this type of AR which is based in VR. It's like I always forget the name of that Finnish company, but like they did that the VR headset that had a pass through, and it was you could augment things into the real world, but it was all done. It wasn't like HoloLens or Magic Leap where you're actually just looking through a lens. It's all VR, but with the real world, or augmented into it.
Vario.
VR augmented into basically like a camera feed.
Vario is the company.
Thank you. Yeah. And it's cool. It's a taste of AR. It's a decent taste of AR that's just an added bonus to the Rift S. I like experimenting with that.
And the pass-through on the Rift S, as you said, is more advanced than what we saw in Quest.
Yeah.
It being perspective correct. So placing, like in the demo, you placed, a YouTube video over your TV, and in Dash you can conform that, like you use a virtual desktop, conform it to be curved or flat.
Right.
And almost, from your perspective, did it align well in that space? Did it look like it was covering your TV?
I mean, it was floating in space in front of my TV.
Yeah.
It's exactly what you wanted to do.
Yeah. And you can watch a full movie there if you really want.
I mean, yes. You could.
Right? I mean, I don't know how people do that with Dash in general.
Watch whole movies?
Or I think just use Dash as a virtual desktop replacement.
That's one of the nice things about this resolution bump, both in Quest and S, is that virtual desktop now becomes much more practical. Because we're, like I said in our review, we're still at the point, early days, where a small improvement has dramatic changes. It's like when you go like resolution bump from Nintendo to Super Nintendo. Like, it made a huge difference. Much more so than we're seeing from consoles these days. No offense, console nerds. But it is like these small improvements from, a few hundred pixels here and there mean a lot.
I also go back to at the end of our Rift S review where we talk about what a weird place this product is, because I think refresh is probably the best way to describe it. It's not a 2.0, it's not 1.5, it's a refresh. And I'm trying to think of other companies that have had similar refreshes where it made advances in certain directions and maybe not so much. And I go back to game consoles, like Xbox had a refresh, the Xbox One S, and it does feel kind of like an Xbox One S in that regard, except it's not even that much cheaper. It's almost like a DS Lite.
DS, okay.
It's for a little more mass market.
Yeah.
A little more portable, a little more easy to get into. Mm-hmm. It has an entire back catalog.
You mean the
library.
Game Boy?
No, DS.
What do you mean?
Remember the DS and DS? The original DS was kind of bulky. Like gray thing. Not the 3DS. The DS.
The Nintendo?
Yeah, Nintendo DS.
Yeah, right.
It was, and then DS Lite was the thing that really catapulted it.
Right.
Because it was just so much more portable.
Yeah.
And it was like they got the form factor right, but it wasn't a 1.5.
Yeah.
It wasn't a 2.0.
I don't know. It's a weird situation. The book, The History of the Future, did not cover the Rift S. but I'd be curious to know the inside story.
Like when that development started on that.
Yeah, because it kind of feels like maybe 6 months ago when Uribe left, like maybe they did make a decision then, and they fast-tracked this with Lenovo, and they got a solution together that was perfectly reasonable, works well, introduces, lowers the barrier of entry, which is their high priority. They want to get numbers of people using VR. They made a headset that is completely plug and play, and is room scale, 360. They covered those bases, and they sacrificed in areas where they don't think people will mind as much. Black levels, audio, a little bit of weight, the strap. It's a good headset. I think it's probably like competing with Windows mixed reality headsets. It's probably my favorite because it has the touch controllers primarily, and the tracking is really, really good. But the original Rift does have some edge on it, which is weird.
It puts original Rift owners who are invested in the platform, who've bought a ton of games on an Oculus store, in a tough spot. They want something new. They want the better visual fidelity. I don't think it's worth $400 for them.
As an upgrade?
As an upgrade.
Yeah. I mean, that resolution bump is sweet, but
it's not a $400.
Yeah, no.
Upgrade.
I mean, certainly not. Like, what I want is the reverb resolution with touch controllers.
I mean, that's what everyone wants, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's talk about reverb.
Sure.
It's not out yet, but we do have a review unit, and there are some reviews that have popped up already. I've been using it for 2 days now, and we're going to get you time on it, so we're going to review it next week. This is HP's new Windows Mixed Reality headset, and it is, on the consumer side, one of the highest resolution headsets available. 2K panels per eye, LCD panels, 2160 by 2160 per eye. I will say that I did a couple games yesterday, all through Steam VR, Rec Room included, Space Pirate Trainer. I'm going to do Elite next, but that crispness, it's there.
It is a LCD panel, right?
LCD panel. And you do have to adjust some settings in Steam VR to render, I think, at like 174, 175% the native Steam VR scaling to get it to the pixel resolution.
But your frame rate didn't get dropped by that?
I'm running on a 1080, and it was totally fine in a 1080.
Okay.
And Rec Room is a game that doesn't have a ton of textures, right? It's mostly flat, but the geometry looks super sharp. And walking up to like the bulletin boards and seeing the text on those things was where I noticed, like, wow, this is really good. It's really, really good.
Yeah. I mean, up close, if you're holding things up to your, like, within arm distance, it felt, and this is based on memory, but it felt like monitor resolution. Like, I felt like there was no degradation. Like, I could totally use this. If I was sitting in virtual desktop, for instance, it would have felt like a proper resolution for Windows usage.
Yeah.
That's pretty awesome. But, it also requires quite a lot of rendering horsepower. So I think that 1080 is kind of min-spec.
Yeah. They asked that we test on 1080, and we will test it on things like a 1070 and other graphics cards and see if you can render it lower. There are other caveats. We'll get to it in the full review. The biggest one being that you are on Windows Mixed Reality.
Yep.
And you're using their controllers, which I haven't used in a while, and going back to them, it's not good. No. Not good. So for racing games, for flight sim games where you have a different controller input.
There's also a way to use Vive controllers.
There is.
So it would be interesting to combine these with the new Knuckles controllers and see how we can get that working.
That's a very expensive setup. It is not for most people.
Right. But the reverb is $600. Like, if you're looking at that, you're already invested. And maybe
right. There's a scenario where you have existing Vive 1, where you have that's your Steam VR, you have the lighthouses and that tracking. You maybe want to spend $600 just on reverb, and you want to spend $280 on Knuckles.
So I guess one question I have is the frame rate, the 120 hertz of the index,
superior
to the resolution of the reverb?
Yeah.
Do you have any thoughts on that?
Don't know yet.
Yeah.
I need more time.
Me too.
Need more time on both. Yeah.
Should we talk about my Quest experiment?
Yeah.
This was really interesting.
Okay. Yep.
So I in my house, I have a loop that I can do. I have a back stairs and a front stairs.
Yeah.
And it goes through the downstairs, you go up the back stairs, and then you go through the upstairs, and you go back down the front stairs, right? Loop.
Well, this spun off of John Carmack, responding to a tweet about the range of Quest tracking.
Well, people had asked if you turn off Guardian, because there is a limit on your Guardian in Quest. You had measured it. What was it, like 15 feet by 15 feet, something like that?
About there, yeah.
And you can't draw Guardian bigger than that. And if you try to, you just can't. And if you walk past it with Guardian enabled, pass-through comes on, and then if you keep walking, like, I don't know, 5, 10 more feet, it actually goes to black.
It says create a new Guardian.
Exactly. But you go into developer settings, you can turn off Guardian entirely, and then you have to agree, okay, fine, I agree if I hit the wall, I'm not suing anybody. Once you do that, it doesn't fade to black. Now, there's no pass-through, so you can't keep the headset on and walk through the world that way without taking steps to see where you're going. But the tracking still works. The 6 degrees of freedom headset and hand presence tracking still work. So I did this experiment.
So is the floor even there?
Yeah. No, the floor maintains its position.
But like, does it render that kind of grid floor thing?
No.
Okay, so it really is 6 degrees relative to the controllers is the only point of reference.
It's 6 degrees relative to where you set up Guardian. Like, you do set up Guardian, and then you turn it off.
Right.
So when you set up Guardian, you tell it where the floor is, and it maintains that.
Right. So, but in terms of your point of reference, you're looking at Dash or the menu system.
So this is what I did. I went into the main menu, the library, and I set it up Guardian, and then I turned off Guardian.
Yep.
And then I walked through the main menu. I walked through my whole downstairs.
Right.
I know people want to know dimensions. I have no idea how far that is. 100 feet. Let's say that's 100 feet. And I walked outside. Like, you'll know users will know that the Guardian main menu is in a kind of dome. It's like this weird futuristic.
It's a dome like house, right?
Exactly. It's a very futuristic dome house. And I walked out of the house. I'm no clipping, straight through the world.
Into the skybox.
I'm now, basically looking at the skybox. I'm hovering above midair. I'm outside the dome, and I keep walking. I go to my back stairs, and I turn around, and there's the dome. It's over there. Yeah. In the distance.
You're in the gray area.
And then I go up my back stairs, and in VR, I start to go up, like elevate. That's the perfect word. Yeah. I elevate, and I go up, and then I walk back across my house upstairs, and I'm now above the dome.
And you can see the dome through the floor.
Yeah, well, there's nothing there. It's like I'm hovering. Yeah. I might as well have a jetpack on. And then I can use the menus even from that position by pointing at them. The ray still works perfectly. And then I go down my front stairs when I go down in through I no-clip again through the roof of the dome, and I stand there at the beginning, and it's 1-to-1 where I left off. Now Carmack says they don't actually close the loop on that kind of tracking.
There's no loop closure, exactly.
So the system doesn't know, according to Carmack, that I have now arrived at the same spot in 3D space, and it should combine those meshes and put me in the same spot. For whatever reason, the tracking system itself supposedly is still evaluating every movement I make as if it's a new space.
It just thinks of it as one big volume.
But the home menu, it was exactly where I left it.
No drift.
No drift. Yeah. I mean, not that I could perceive. So it is pretty good. Like, I've seen experiments with people testing the iPhone measurements using their measuring tape tool. And they do similar things where they can walk upstairs and they can leave an augmented reality device or an augmented thing downstairs, walk around their house and go back, and it's exactly where they left it. This is similar to that. So whatever their tracking solutions, really good. And what I'm most excited about is this shows me that out of the box, the tracking system is capable of a large-scale LBE-like experience. So if you, given the right software, given the right, ingenuity in Unity or Unreal Engine, you could convert your house into an LBE.
Yeah, and you're talking about like the drift problem could have been very bad because you're talking about a lot of geometry that it was resolving.
Yeah,
corners, elevations, stairs.
Now, obviously, if I took an elevator to my second floor, it would have been completely confused, right? Because the doors closed, you go up, there's no tracking of any kind of Z elevation.
Right. It needs some continuous
Yeah.
linking.
Yeah. But it did a good job.
Yeah. Huh. I'm curious about the elevator test.
Yeah.
Quest.
Anyway, that's super cool, and I imagine we'll see some people showing that off in video. We considered it, but I don't know if we're going to get around to it.
New game announced from Servios this week, Battle Wake.
I got to play this at GDC, and it's fun. It's a single-player or multiplayer experience. You are in a ship. You are the commander of essentially like a pirate ship, and it's a different take. It's like almost like a first-person shooter, but you're a pirate ship, and so you can aim your hands off the port of or starboard, the bow or the stern, and it has different effects if you pull the trigger based on what weapons are there. You can steer your ship, but you can also like throw on these side emergency brakes by lifting up these anchors, and it's fun because it has a good sense of motion without making you nauseous. At least for me, I'm sure everyone has their thresholds. But they do a good job of maintaining perspective with the horizon and not shifting the camera orientation the wrong way. I enjoyed it. I think we're going to post my interview with the Servio CEO in this week's projections.
We'll have a bonus episode of projections in addition to the Riftfest review. And then finally, Entertainment Weekly got an early look at Vader Immortal, which is launching on the Oculus Quest, and some things that were learned from this interview with Alan X Lab and the writer David S. Goyer is one pricing, $10 for Vader Immortal, which they're saying is like a 45 minutes to an hour long experience. I think that's good pricing for what could be a killer app for Oculus Quest. People are very excited about this at Star Wars Celebration, and then. Well, actually, I was wondering, would it be free? Like, would Oculus Studios have subsidized this?
Yeah, because when the Rift launched, we had a few free titles.
It doesn't look like that's happening this time.
No.
Yeah. And Superhot developers confirmed they will not be doing cross-buy.
Oh, really? That's interesting.
Because it takes development resources.
Oh, no doubt.
Yeah.
No doubt.
So I do not fault them.
But it's also an incentive to buy.
It is. People just got to work out the economics of it, right?
They also said, by the way, that their Quest version is the best version, that they made some little tweaks that they are really happy with.
Well, I believe it just from the usability, just from not being tethered.
Yeah.
Playing Superhot not tethered is just so much fun. With Vader Immortal, the article, you can look it up on Entertainment Weekly, it does look like it has a bunch of spoilers about on the story. So if you want to go spoiler-free, you should not read that, but a lot of it goes into what type of experience this is. Is it a game, or is it like a stage play, or is it like an immersive theater experience, like Invisible Hours, which I still love.
Yeah.
Like, I would love to see more Invisible Hours style gaming come to Quest, because being able to freely roam around and being immersed with NPCs talking to each other, that's something I think we could use more of in VR. So we'll to be seen, but I think the big thing, it being $10, is a good news, and that's part one of 3. It's gonna be a trilogy.
Launching first on Quest and later coming to Rift, right?
Later coming for
later
Rift.
this year.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. That does it for the VR Minute this week. Like Jeremy said, we'll have another episode of projections out on Friday, in which we'll talk about Battle Wake and maybe some other stuff as well. And always happy to answer more questions about the headsets, about the games in the comments below. I think that does it, though, for this episode.
Outstanding.
I know we haven't done things that annoy me for a couple weeks.
I don't have the energy, man.
All right, we'll save it for something special for episode 500.
I need better mass manufactured coffee and snacks.
We got another shoot. Like, I got 2 more shoots today. My voice is already losing it, so we got to end this. We got to wrap it up. We got an outro this week?
Yes, from Imperialist Rex.
Hi there, I didn't see you. Test it.
Can I just say that when Avery grows up, I sincerely hope they don't watch Star Trek. I hope Norm recounts every episode for them around the campfire. Around the campfire. Around the campfire. Around the campfire. Around the campfire.
There was a fire. His brother died. And Picard goes, I need help. She says, there's another person in the Nexus that might be able to help you. It's another captain of the Enterprise. And so he pulls Jim Kirk out. And then, of course, Jim Kirk falls off into a bunch of rocks and dies.
Oh, Papa.
Tell us another one.
Tell us the story of the sex planet.
Not yet. Next up, Season 4, Episode 2.
I know how to solder. Well done.
That was amazing.
Well done, Rex.
I should have saved that for episode 500. We might even use it again next week. That was so good. All right. See you next week.